This is the Nike Alphafly 3. I've had this shoe for a month now. I ran it in it every single day. So far I have 300 miles. And what do I think of it so far? I love it. It is my favorite Alphafly to date. Okay, so the Alphafly 3, or the Alphafly in general, is Nike's top of the line marathon and road racing shoe. The third version, the Alphafly 3, is due to be released in January of 2024. So before I go on too far beyond that and get into more details of what I think, I want to get a disclaimer out of the way. Nike is a partner, so I'm partnered with Nike. They did send me this shoe early to try out. So keep that in mind as you watch through the rest of this review. But I think with that being said, I did run in it every day. I ran 300 miles in this shoe, and these are my thoughts on the shoe. So I think the next thing I wanted to get into before really diving into it is why did I run in this shoe every single day, and then do I recommend that? And I think first of all I'm going to say no, I don't recommend running in this shoe every day. So this is a race shoe, road racing shoe. It has a combination of features that lead it to be as fast as it is. But one of those is a very stiff carbon fiber plate running through the entire shoe. So with that, it makes it great for racing, not as ideal for everyday runs. So while I did run in it every single day, I don't recommend that for normal training. Typically you're better off with a little bit more flexible shoe for a day-to-day basis, something that still has the same foam and bouncy feel as the Invincible. And that's a shoe I really like to run in and probably would recommend over this shoe if you're looking for an everyday shoe. But if you're looking for a super fast race day shoe for the marathon distance, this is the one, the Alphafly 3. Okay, with that, I think the other note I would have is that I do love the opportunity to be able to try out the shoe before it is released, and that really is the reason why I decided to run in it every single day, really just to see how it performed, how it handled different types of runs, and how durable it was over time. So I love being able to have hundreds of miles in a shoe so I can really give my thoughts, my perspectives, and just my experiences on how it's worked for me and how it's held up over time. So when the shoe's released, if someone asks me how long does it last or how does it do after so many miles, I can give my thoughts based on my actual experiences and not have to guess or have to just assume that it's going to be great after 100 miles or 200 miles or 300 miles. Now I have 300 miles on this shoe, and I know what it looks like and how it's performed for me. Okay, so getting into some of my thoughts. I think I'm going to start with some of the things that I had as concerns going into trying out this shoe. One of the big ones that is pretty apparent when you look at it is that it is a pretty different design from the previous Alphafly. For the first time ever, this one has a continuous bottom. So just visually seeing that, I had some thoughts that potentially it would have a different feel, maybe less bouncy, and also possibly heavier. I'm happy to say that neither of those things are true. It feels great, and it is actually not heavier. It's actually lighter. The other concerns I had when looking at this shoe, one is this exposed Zoom X here in the midfoot, so there's no rubber in this section, and then also it's very flat right here. So really, this is going to be hitting the ground pretty regularly on every footstep. In the past, on previous Zoom X shoes, the foam is pretty soft and often shows a lot of wear pretty quickly. You might be able to see in this one, really not a lot of wear, so I don't think that is a big concern. You can tell that it is discolored. It's a bit brown in this section, but really almost no scuffing. So you can see the discoloration, and then you can see some wrinkling in the Zoom X, but really no scuffing where this exposed foam hits the ground. So I'm happy to see that, and even after 300 miles, it looks like it's holding up really well. And then I think the last concern I had was this big groove running down the middle, and there's actually a groove up here in the forefoot as well. So just concerned with any debris getting stuck in there, rocks or anything else that's on the surface of the road or the trail when you're running. I've run on this mostly on paved surfaces, so I think I've done about 30 miles on the treadmill. Otherwise, it's been out on roads and bike trails. I've run in the wet, I've run in the snow, but really I haven't run too much off-road. But I'm happy to say so far I have not had anything get stuck in here. So I think this is it's pretty narrow channel, and it's also pretty deep, so it would have to be a fairly unique shape to get stuck in there. I'm sure it'll happen to somebody. Odds will have it that eventually something will get stuck in there, but I think it's a low risk, at least from what I have seen so far. I think the next things I wanted to touch on was just how it's held up over 300 miles. So really not a lot of visible wear. You can see on the outsole there is wear showing up in the kind of in the toe area. The rubber is starting to get worn a little bit flat, so there is a modified waffle pattern on this outsole, and up here near the toes that has been worn almost flat. Not wearing through the rubber yet, but really there's just a flat spot up here by the toes, and then there's a little bit here around the pods, kind of where my foot lands, where I'm seeing additional wear and additional flat spot where some of those grooves that are molded in are just no longer visible when it's flat. But other than that, the outsole looks pretty good. Really no wear in the midfoot, like I mentioned, or in these rubber pads on the heel. Still looking good there. And then the midsole does show some wrinkling, pretty typical with ZoomX, but really nothing unexpected at this point from what I've seen in the past. And also the shoe still feels really good. Still feels responsive and still feels cushioned. I think a lot of that has to do with the Zoom Air pods in the forefoot. One of the big benefits there is that they have really good energy return and also really long lifespan. So hundreds and hundreds of miles, it's still feeling very similar to when it was new, unlike some of the foams that can wear out or have less resiliency over time. Okay, so with that, I think I'm going to touch then on what are some of the things that I really liked about this model, or the changes on that they did to this model. First thing I'm going to go into is just the bouncy feel, the bounce of the midsole. So it's still using ZoomX foam, full-length carbon fiber plate, and dual Zoom Air pods, just like the previous Alphafly models. I would note that Alphafly 1 has generally been considered the king of bouncy shoes, where the Alphafly 2 was mostly considered slightly less bouncy. I think I would agree with that. Happy to report that the Alphafly 3, the bounce is back, and I think it's even better than on the Alphafly 1. So this continuous midsole looks a lot different, but really what they've done, and I think why it feels so good, is they've changed some of this geometry in the foam that you can't actually see from this view, but there's a lot of foam cut out underneath kind of this section, and then this section directly behind the pods. That really allows these pods to be able to deflect during the foot strike, or the natural stride that you run through, and really gets them to compress and then release, and gives it a really good bouncy feel. So I think that's great. So just visually looking at it, was a little bit concerned it might not be as bouncy, but that actually ended up being one of my favorite parts about this, is just how bouncy it feels. The other part that I really love about this shoe, and I feel like is an improvement on the previous models, is the comfort. So previous Alphaflys had a pretty prominent arch, both in the Alphafly 1 and Alphafly 2. Some people had hot spots. I have found that in this model, the arch is significantly more smoothed down and comfortable, to the point you really don't even feel it. This is really the first Alphafly that I feel is walk around comfortable, feels good on easy runs, feels really good on almost any pace, just because of those changes to the last and the change to the fit. That's helped a ton. Really the Atom Knit upper, still super comfortable, never really had any issues with that in the past, but that is just as good on this model. That I found is that it fits like a glove, really holds my foot in well, and is super comfortable. And then the last thing I really like about this one is the weight. So that was initially a concern, just visually looking at it, of how much was it going to weigh. Again, happy to report here that this is lighter than in the past. So this is the lightest Alphafly model yet to date. Feels great on foot. So it has that bouncy feel. It also has actual lightweight, as well as what I feel is the best comfort and fit of all the Alphafly models. Okay, so kind of those are my thoughts. 300 miles on this shoe. I still feel like it's holding up really well. I'd be happy to continue to race in it at this mileage, and I will definitely continue to run in this shoe and add additional miles onto it. So I think that's what I have for the review on the Alphafly 3. I will have a future video covering some of the other Nike racing race shoe models throughout history. That'll be coming up in the future, hopefully shortly after this one. And yeah, I guess be on the lookout for that one. I think that's all I have on the Alphafly 3 today. Like always, thanks for watching.